Eddie, and welcome to lead at the Innovate lecture. Thank you for your time and readiness to share your knowledge and experience with us.
It's my absolute pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Let me begin with startups. Startups have increased awareness about our rapidly changing world, and they have changed the way we live and work. Yet innovative practices and initiatives have become crucial for organizational success and competitiveness in this fast and unpredictably changing global business environment. Being creative and innovative is easier said than done, right? I believe that transformation and excellence start with the leader. Without innovation leadership, organizations are likely to struggle. As an innovation leader, how do you encourage the innovative thinking and collaborative growth mindset in your community and in your organization? And what skills and capabilities did you need to develop first?
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting question. And there are so many different points of view on how you do this and what works best. Perhaps I'll start with, so I have very, very broad experience. I've worked in academia for many years, I've worked in industry for many years, and I have non-for-profit experience for that as well. So governance, policy, finance, economics, the lot. So I'm sure the audience is also quite diverse. So it doesn't really matter what you're working in at the moment. You have to be aware that you may not be doing that in the near future. So that change, innovation is driving that change. So for a moment, just take this away with you. You might innovate yourself out of a job in the near future. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you're actually innovating and creating new opportunities for yourself, as well as doing yourself out of other work. But one way to sustain, let's talk about how you sustain a culture of innovation and how you create capabilities within a small, large, or super large team. The most important thing is, if you consider yourself a leader, or other people look up to you as a leader. Many people, in many instances, don't necessarily say, look, I'm a leader, I'm leading the way, and therefore listen to me. You lead through practice. You lead by example. So if you are recognized for doing things in a certain way, and people look up to you and they see that you have certain capabilities, you're naturally going to sort of float up to the surface as a leader. So if you're already recognized as a leader, or perhaps you're fighting your way, in a kind way to put it, to the top, to be an influencer, someone that drives change, you have to take into consideration what prevented you from being innovative when you were at the bottom of the food chain. And often it's a culture of an organization or a team. We have strict rules and guidelines. Let me start off by saying that innovation does not look at rules and regulations and policies and so on. It floats independently above all of that. So you have to put yourself in this aura, in this sphere, where you are no longer governed by certain principles that exist, because all they do is crush creativity and they crush innovation. The same can be said of leadership and teams and working in corporate organizations. You have to be open to new ideas. Now that's easier said than done, because you have to practice this on a regular basis. So how do you actually put that into context? I'll give you some examples. First of all, you have to treat everyone equally. I know that seems like something cliche in the 21st century, we all treat each other equally. Well, that's not entirely true in modern organizations, because some people's ideas float quicker to the top than others. So if you start to create a culture where people are open to expressing their ideas, they can provide feedback openly, you start to create a culture where people actually want to contribute. People go out of their way to add new ideas to the pile. So that is very, very important in an organization. Empower every employee in your organization, every contributor, whether it's a secretary, a janitor, or the CFO, or someone else in the organization for that sake. Everyone has to have an opinion, and they do. But the question is everyone's opinion heard? And that's very likely a no. So as a good leader, you ensure that everyone's voice is heard and that everyone feels they're contributing. By doing this, ideas can flow from the top to the bottom, which is more often the case today than it is the other way around. But ideas can also float from the bottom to the top. And the most innovative leaders and organizers of organizations, profitable and non-profitable organizations, allow everyone to have a voice. they have a high level of empathy, they understand and feel other people's emotions. That is someone that recognizes opportunities as well, because your people in your organization are sensors. If you're in technology, you know how much we rely on technology to sense and provide information. No one provides information better than human beings themselves. So think of your team as your emotional sensors. They sense the pain of your customers, your clients, your team internally, and they feed information to you naturally. And if you create a culture of being open, you have all the information that you need to be successful as a leader. Just listen more than you speak, and you will have success in those early stages, and you become wiser as time rolls on.
Thank you very much. There are plenty of innovative ideas and projects, and most of them fail. I think it's something between 70 and 90% of them. Why is it? Why is it so many innovation projects fail to generate the return? And what needs to be done differently?
Several things. So you can take the classical definition of why they fail, and there are statistical analyses to show why startups fail and why they fail to succeed. For me, for all of my practices, it really comes down to what I've talked about before, your team. Your team is critical to getting anything done in the long term. And the team isn't just a collection of people that have come together to do something. It really depends on each individual in that organization, in that team that's formed, having that level of empathy and that self-leadership. Because when times get tough and things start to fall apart and the boat is rocking, people panic. Certain people jump off the boat. Certain people grab parts of the boat and try to steer it in the right direction. And other people just freeze up and do nothing. You have to have a culture in your startup where everyone is thinking in the same direction, in the sense that they are part of a team holistically, not just from a piece of paper perspective. So startups fail and lack that return on investment because teams start to buckle along the way. Now, there are other reasons why this happens: lack of finances, inability. The second most crucial part in all of this is the level of empathy and understanding of what your clients actually want. And I'll go back to listening. Too many people do talking and very little listening. I have a solution, and that solution in my eyes seems perfect. But if that solution has not been driven by what your customers actually want, what your group of people that you're serving actually want, you don't actually have a solution. You have something that gives you self-gratification, something that gives you an artificial sense of success, but ultimately it's going to be your biggest failure in life. So you have to listen. You have to engage with people of all levels. Regardless of whether you're developing a product, a service, or a program, you have to listen to all levels of stakeholders out there. So empathy, very, very important thing to develop if you haven't developed it already, and an understanding of the importance of teams. If you get those two things right, those two ingredients right, the rest of the stuff is really like additives on a Christmas tree that make things look pretty. They might be shiny, they might be bigger or smaller, but ultimately if the core is rotten, it doesn't matter what you put on that Christmas tree, eventually it's going to fall apart and be your biggest undoing.
Yes, thank you. I have a question for you. About communities, we talk about self-leadership, team leadership, communities leadership. Communities sustain innovation, and they can also be our competitive advantage. Building and organizing a diverse and creative community with a cause as a fundamental unit of innovation and of innovative society is a skill that we will certainly need to start developing at an early age. You are an amazing community leader. So please share with us, how did you become a community leader? And as a community leader, how do you integrate all those different perceptions, different realities, different businesses into one system, one strategy, and one team?
A very broad question, and very complex one for that matter. So I never actually set out to be a community leader. So it wasn't as if I said when I was 15 years old, I'm going to be a community leader one day, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I think I mentioned in my first answer that people gravitate to good ideas. People gravitate to people who have good culture, who respect others, who are very inclusive. And I mean that in the broadest possible sense of inclusivity in today's society. and honesty, integrity, all of those things that we always take for granted, right? We all grew up in homes where parents told us, don't steal, don't do this, don't do that, right? Behave this way, do this, be a good example to others. But the reality is far from that, in the sense that people believe that, but people don't always practice that. So when you see people naturally gravitating towards another individual, it's because they're putting those things that we all know into practice, and it's not fake. It's not fake, it's not surface. They practice that on a daily basis. If you practice that on a daily basis, and you have a vision, and you have a mission, and you have an idea, people will start to latch on to that idea. So it's very important that if you start to build a community, whether it's self-initiated or initiated by someone else, or it's just something that you naturally fall into, you have to have this culture of good practice and being open and transparent about what you do and why you're doing it. And people gravitate towards those ideas. So in my concept of building a community, I have a foundation which is called Bosnia and Herzegovina Futures Foundation. We operate in a super complex environment. So someone that innovates and creates a culture of innovation, for me, the grandest challenge in my entire life was Bosnia and Herzegovina, this super complex country that has had numerous, let's say, challenges over the years being thrown at it. Challenges still exist. For anyone that wants to solve a big challenge, I challenge you to join me in challenging Bosnia and changing that country as a whole. But I'll just give you a couple of examples. So we operate in an environment, in a multi-ethnic environment, in a multi-religious environment, in an environment where other forces are stretching decision-making inside a country, and yet we are able to create a community that has expanded and grown exponentially, where we have brought together young people. We have excluded the factors that divide people, and we have found what drives them and what are the common points in that particular community. So naturally, the community is growing organically. It's not being forced into growth. And I can give you examples of forced communities where people come along, provide finances, provide other incentives, rewarding incentives for people to do certain things. Once those incentives are gone, the community falls apart. So building communities as a leader is about building around natural and organic growth, building around the needs of people rather than the needs of one or two people about the community. And we've done that. We've built a community where young people in Bosnia and Herzegovina gravitate towards this vision of a Bosnia that is future-proofed, that is able to withstand the 21st challenges and tackle them without external support, by internally being able to solve challenges. We empower them through technology, we empower them through non-formal education, developing a global mindset, and most importantly, good leadership practice, which is what we're talking about here. Without good leadership, education, economics, medicine, and everything else falls into a hole, because it will eventually fail without good practices being shared with your community. So whatever you do, when you start to build a community naturally, or something that gravitates towards you in your career, always be transparent with everything that you do. Be a leader who practices it on a daily basis, and be open to suggestions and ideas from people of all levels in the organization and your community. And people will gravitate towards you naturally. And that also goes into practice in business, because people can say, okay, well, non-for-profits have a certain perspective, the commercial world has another perspective. I think the blend of those two, there are good practices in one and the other, but the one thing that will really allow people to succeed and gravitate towards you is being transparent about what you do and being receptive of people's opinions, no matter what phase of your career you're looking at.
I have one additional question, please. How important is community for innovations?
It's probably one of the most important factors that people completely ignore, because remember, whenever you think of something, whether you have an idea, whether you're implementing something, it's the like-minded people that understand the challenges that you're going through, that understand, I call them war stories, the scars that you've had on your mindset and your ideas, and the financial ruins and all the lack of success that you may have had. Communities sustain you through the most difficult periods of time. We all go through ups and downs. We're on a roller coaster ride. The entire life cycle is a roller coaster ride. Sometimes it seems like it's endlessly plummeting, and sometimes it seems like you're just about to fly off and go to another planet. But that cycle can be vicious, and without a community there to back you, to sustain you to help you articulate your ideas, to bounce things off. That supportive structure is so important in success. And let's not even get into the power of network, because your network is your net worth. Without your network, you are not going to succeed in doing anything that's large. And for that matter, whether it's a startup company, whether it's a non-for-profit community, or whether it's solving hunger in Africa or something else for that matter, the community is one of the most important and critical factors in success, because being the trailblazer and leaving everyone else behind you is not the way to solve anything. That discrepancy between those of us that lead and those of us that follow needs to shrink rather than grow. Otherwise, we start to create communities of inequality. And I think you all know what inequality is. There are plenty of examples of inequality around the world. We don't want to live in a society of inequality, because inequality also drives a lack of decision making. And that's a whole nother topic, where those of us who know why the decision needs to be made, and yet we fail to educate the remainder of the population about that. We have a problem on our hands. We have the masses blocking the few, and all we say is, but they don't understand. It's our responsibility to make the community understand, and it's our responsibility to listen to the community. It's a bi-directional cycle that doesn't end, but community is critical to innovation. Community is critical to everything that we do in life as a whole. A country is a community, a city is a community, your family is a community.
Thank you very much for this inspiring and insightful conversation. It was a great honor and pleasure having you as my guest speaker.
Thank you so much, Nadina. Dankeschön. And I look forward to seeing all of you sometime in the near future in real life. So hopefully the pandemic will allow us to do that in the near future. Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye.